West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Have you heard the new little audio song that the kids all love these days?
I don't know. What is it?
Banana, chicken, banana.
Oh, no.
Chicken,
I haven't heard it, Preston.
banana.
Oh, no.
Banana, chicken,
Oh,
banana.
my God, no.
That's the new one.
Okay, that's a cue for me to take the phone and just throw it. I'm just like, psh, no.
So we were
my God.
on a cruise with the whole
Yeah.
family, like big family cruise, all
Yeah.
the cousins,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And we're all doing karaoke. And he's got to be 4 at the time, nephew
No way, yeah.
gets up and does Baby Shark.
That's so
The
funny.
place went wild.
Oh, I'm
dude.
sure. I
Little
am
4-year-old
sure.
guy,
Oh my
and
God,
it's just
how
little
cute.
Baby
Baby
Shark,
Shark.
do 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 do, baby, and it's karaoke on a cruise.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay.
It was a ton of fun.
Side story on the whole
Hat tip
Baby
to
Shark,
Connor.
the whole Baby Shark craze. That was very, very strange for myself and a couple of my kids when that became an issue, because we had been singing that song for 6 or 7 years prior to it becoming a thing.
That thing was around for 6 or 7 years?
Yes. This is what we used to do, is that used to be the song that we'd sing to calm down the kids or focus them during Cub Scout meetings. When we would have the large pack meetings, that thing was a hit. Everybody did it. So, yeah, when they started off like, doo-doo, baby shark, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Yes, there were arm movements with it. There were dances we did. Yes. That's the weird part, is as soon as this thing blew up, all my kids were like, we know this song. We've been singing this Indian, sitting cross-legged style, Indian style inside a gym for years. Yeah,
That's funny.
It is crazy when that thing actually blew up, because we just thought it was fantastic though at the time, because again, that age group, Cub Scouts, in that big pack meeting when everybody's like blah blah blah, we'd sit there and hey, time to do Baby Shark, and everybody would focus and everybody would sing it. Yeah, it was really weird when that became a big thing.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about this hour. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. This is the headline for Matt Taibbi. No right-winger out there, formerly with Rolling Stone, writes, in brutal document release, the Russia hoax is finally exposed. Official claim that Putin aspired to help Trump was based on 4 pieces of evidence, all bogus, even, quote, ridiculous, according to long-suppressed report just released by Tulsi Gabbard. Do you want to see legal action brought about against Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Comey, James Clapper? Do you want to see investigations? Do you want to see prosecutions against these folks? In light of what was released yesterday, we'll talk more about that. Now is time for News and Talk with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. It is Thursday, 61 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 86 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
Here comes a big change. Because all of a sudden, Trump, Russian possible collusion,
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian possible collusion, Trump, Russians, collusion.
National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard and Caroline Levin opened up another can on Barry and the lame brain lefty media on Wednesday.
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former
The
President
evidence,
Obama?
correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Caroline Levitt.
The entire Trump 1 presidency was embroiled in this scandal that was perpetuated by the Democrat Party. And you had major Democrat Party officials in this city, namely Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, who went on television and told the American people Donald Trump is an asset of Russia. It was a lie. They always knew it. Hillary Clinton herself said that President Trump would be a puppet for Putin. Senator Tim Kaine at the time called President Trump Vladimir Putin's defense lawyer. Adam Schiff stated, and one of the worst things a lawmaker can do is to tell the American people, I know something you don't know, it's just classified and I can't tell you. And that's what he said. I can tell you that the case is more than that. I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now. And not enough people in this room, not enough journalists in this country pushed Adam Schiff to say, what are you talking about? What evidence do you have? Everybody just ran with the lies.
And James Clapper, central casting bad guy in government, shows up on CNN last night. He's been pushing the lie since 2016.
Do you have concerns that they will attempt to prosecute you?
Well, certainly I do. After 8.5 years of this, and I don't know of an intelligence product that was more scrutinized, more investigated than that product.
That's funny.
Was by numerous people. It's very disconcerting. It really is. And I take seriously when the President of the United States accuses me of being a participant in a treasonous conspiracy, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, what's your reaction to that?
It's ridiculous. It is untrue.
So what will you do if they come after you? What is your plan?
Well, I'll lawyer up.
Yes, you better. You better. Reporter Paul Sperry on Vinny on X says AI is actually helping Tulsi uncover a lot of this.
We're seeing some results here. Finally, all this stuff has been bottled up, by for the past 8 years.
Yes.
Not just by the media, but of course, administrations. And the dam is starting to break. Tables are finally starting to turn on the bad guys who conspired to do this, to kneecap Trump and frame him.
Yep. The left had 4 years to do this, but now a House Oversight Subcommittee is voting to subpoena the DOJ for Epstein-related files now, following a Wall Street Journal hit piece, another one that 47 was told his name appears multiple times in the documents. 47 visits the Fed today, increasing pressure on Chair Jerome Powell over interest rates. First time in 20 years that a president has done this, visited the Fed. Trump has repeatedly criticized Powell for not cutting rates. He uses the nickname Too Late Powell, of course. 2 inmates who spent time in the same cell with James Craig, the crazy dentist, say that he asked them for help covering up his wife's murder. Craig is on trial in Arapahoe County for allegedly poisoning his wife Angela a few years ago. Former cellmate Casey Bohannon testified that Craig wanted him to forge entries in his wife's journal so it would look like she committed suicide. Colorado Parks and Wildlife officials say 2 female gray wolves who were part of the agency's reintroduction effort died earlier this year in separate incidents. One was killed by a mountain lion in Rocky Mountain National Park. And Brian Kohberger getting life without parole for the 2022 murders of the 4 University of Idaho college students. He pleaded guilty in a deal to avoid a death penalty and did not have to explain his motive. The number of Americans filing first-time requests for unemployment benefits dropped unexpectedly last week. The Labor Department says it received 217,000 initial jobless claims in the week ending July 19th. That's down 4,000 from the previous week. Most analysts had predicted today's number would come in right around 227,000. Broncos' first practice at training camp is tomorrow. Officially, they're underway with meetings and getting ready for the brand new season 2025. Rockies blank the Cards on getaway day, and Colorado at Baltimore tomorrow night. 57 in Castle Rock, 59 in Englewood, 61 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on this Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Another day of monsoonal moisture for Colorado in the Front Range. Temperatures will be cooler with showers and thunderstorms likely today, some producing heavy rainfall. Highs will be 80s, lows tonight near 60. Upper 80s Friday, partly cloudy, widely scattered late-day thunderstorms. Only isolated thunderstorms warmer, 90s for the weekend. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, only available today on terrestrial radio.
We're going retro. That's what it is. That's what we're retro today, just like you used to. Got to get the old transistor out and hold it up to your ear. Yeah.
So yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard releases documents related to the Russia hoax conspiracy. This comes from Matt Taibbi. Matt, as I mentioned, no right-winger, formerly contributing editor for Rolling Stone. And I remember my first interactions with Matt Taibbi were around the war in Iraq, and he ended up being right about it, that the intelligence that was used to justify the war in Iraq was not right. And he makes the same argument in a piece published last night at Racket News, which is where he is now, that the statement was essentially made and then the intelligence was, quote unquote, found in order to support the statement. The statement being that Donald Trump was a asset, was a pawn of Russia, of Vladimir Putin, and then they went out there and tried to make it justified. Here's the piece he's got in Racket News. In brutal document released, the Russia hoax is finally exposed. Official claim that Putin aspired to help Trump was based on 4 pieces of evidence, all bogus, even ridiculous. According to long-suppressed report just released by DNI Tulsi Gabbard. It was worse than we thought. The opening line of his piece. The January 6, 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment concluded that Russian President Vladimir Putin developed a clear preference. That's the quote. Developed a clear preference for Donald Trump and then, quote, aspired to help his chances of victory, unquote, is revealed in a report released by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard to have been based on 4 pieces of evidence. One was the Steele dossier. The surprise is that the other 3 were even less credible. Each included over objections of the report's CIA authors. The first item was a, quote, scant, unclear, and unverifiable fragment, unquote, of one sentence that the report's 5 CIA authors read 5 different ways and initially left out, only to have Director John Brennan order it back in. The second item was an email with, quote, no date, no identified sender, no clear recipient, and no classification, unquote. The third was supposedly backed by, quote, liaisons, unquote, diplomatic and press reporting, as well as signals intelligence, except signal intelligence didn't mention Trump. The liaison reporting didn't mention Trump and was from 2014, and the diplomatic and media reporting was a post-election review by a U.S. ambassador citing a Russian pundit who said Putin and Trump should, quote, work together like businessmen, unquote. This was evidence that Putin developed a clear preference for Trump. All three reports weren't just unsourced and unreliable, but discarded fictions pulled out of the CIA trash heap. They manipulated the manipulations, is how ODNI Deputy Chief of Staff Alexa Henning put it. The assessment was written by just 5 CIA analysts, handpicked by Brennan, but even these most favored lieutenants couldn't accept the key pieces of evidence. 2 of the 5 went to Brennan to say, we don't have direct information that Putin wanted to get Trump elected, only to be overruled. The same thing happened when members of the group objected to the Steele material, saying it didn't even meet the most basic tradecraft standards. When confronted on this point, Brennan reportedly said, yes, but does it ring true? Matt Taibbi would then go to list out all the different evidence that this report by Tulsi Gabbard exposed yesterday. But here's the kicker, and here's the point, that Matt Taibbi, who wrote books, exposed how the intelligence community botched the war in Iraq so badly, he brings this up at the end of his piece. This is a massive repudiation of the Trump-Russia narrative and a near perfect repeat of the 2002-2003, when some of the same people helped package bunk evidence to bring America to war with Iraq. James Clapper later wrote a book called Facts and Fears, in which he described being ordered by Dick Cheney to, quote, find the WMD sites, unquote, then boasted that the images he provided as head of the National Imagery and Mapping Agency carried the day when Colin Powell used them in his infamous speech to the UN in support of war. In hindsight, Clapper described who was to blame for the WMD fiasco that followed. The failure, he said, belongs squarely on the shoulders of the administration and members who were pushing a narrative of a rogue WMD program in Iraq, and on the intelligence officers, including me, who were so eager to help that we found what wasn't really there. The material that was leaked to newspapers and television stations with such fanfare on December 9th of 2016 was the same trick of finding things that weren't really there, with intelligence officials ordered to push this. And push this is in quotes, because doesn't it ring true? It's the same scam, except aimed at an incoming president instead of Saddam Hussein. The litmus test now will involve waiting to see if any of the principals of this story, like Clapper, Brennan, Comey, or even Obama, come up with alternative explanations of how they came to their key conclusions. But don't hold your breath, one source advised. The fight to get this material out is becoming a notable subtext. On July 14th at the Turning Point Conference, Gabbard told audiences the deep state is fighting us every step of the way. There has been interdictions, disputes throughout over everything from today's report to the testimony of former DNI whistleblower referenced in last week's release by Gabbard. There are factions within Donald Trump's own government who are opposed to this material's release. Thankfully, for now, he's ignoring them. More to come from Matt Taibbi. In my mind, Matt does a great job laying out why there must be a prosecution of Obama, Clapper, Comey, and Brennan in light of a deliberate effort to sabotage the incoming president, to ignore actual intelligence and to utilize our intelligence agencies to bring about an effort to sabotage Donald Trump's presidency. In my mind, this is a clear roadmap to prosecution. Bill, your thoughts?
First question I would have is, what's the lie that we're focused on, that Tulsi's alleging, that Matt Taibbi said? What is the lie? Because I'm hearing over and over again that Russia hoax, it's all been shown to be a lie. Barack Obama, it's a conspiracy. What's the lie? At the core, what is the allegation that Taibbi is making and everybody else? What is the lie that we are now concerned about that then we would prosecute Obama over?
The January 6, 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, right? This published document.
That document's a lie?
Correct.
It's not correct. That's not what it says at the top of the page. No, at the top of the page it says that's not what this page says.
Yeah. So it says
No, it says most ICA judgments on Russian activities in the election employed proper analytical tradecraft and was consistent with observed Russian behavior. Nobody's disputing that. They're disputing three pieces inside of that. The overarching conclusions of the report, as it says on page 1, are solid and backed up. So I go back to it.
Your
What's the lie?
argument is that because there's not, the entire document's not a lie?
No, that's
the document is a lie?
What you just said is the
Right.
document was a lie. And I've shown you that on page 1 it
You're
doesn't say
asking
that.
me where the lie was, and I'm telling you it's in the Intelligence Community Assessment.
Yeah, but what part and where is it? Because from what I'm hearing from Taibbi, it's these three things that say preference. That seems to be what we're about.
Aspired to help Trump.
Okay.
And that he was developed a clear preference for Donald Trump and aspired to help his chances of victory.
Okay, that's fair. The idea that, and this is important, okay, because when we're talking about prosecuting President Obama or anybody else, understand that where and what Taibbi's talking about, the idea that the whole Russian hoax falls apart, I disagree with. I disagree with his entire premise, because inside of this report, what we've seen is the preference is disputed. Okay, that's fair. Nothing about Russia interfering in the election is disputed. Nothing about contacts.
Nothing?
No. Again, this is preference. They don't dispute that Russia did have a disinformation and misinformation campaign inside of the election.
That they hacked the emails of the DNC, that they released that, and that they ran some Facebook ads.
Yeah. But no, and more than that. There were some social media campaigns and other stuff.
They tried to hack into the actual vote. Right.
Yeah. They didn't have the ability to do that and did not. And I've never said that. And anybody that went out there and said that is being stupid and loose with language. And again, that's fair to critique them. And yes, all of the people that ran around and said Russia hacked the election to give Donald Trump a win were wrong. They are absolutely wrong and should be mocked because of it. But it is obvious that Russia did have an information campaign in part to destabilize our trust in elections. And thus, here we are. It's exactly where we are in not trusting elections, because in 2020, we went about the whole idea of, oh my God, it's been stolen. So they accomplished what they needed. This intelligence assessment does not refute the intelligence campaign by Russia. What they're disputing is the preference. Okay?
Correct.
And that's fair.
Which was leaked out to the media and then pushed and utilized in an effort to discredit Donald Trump's presidency.
But hang on a sec though, but the idea of it's, again, leaking out the media, but again, is that necessarily criminal? And what the hell would you charge Barack Obama for? Because if we go back to stuff that was leaked out to the media in order to discredit presidencies, then let's go back to the Biden crime family investigation into James Comer did. They behaved the same way. What I'm saying is, inside of politics, when the politicians get a hold of something, speaking in hyperbole and exaggeration for both Democrats and Republicans is the norm. We've seen this on both sides over and over again. Biden crime family, this is the biggest this. How many times have we heard this is the biggest scandal ever? And we had Democrats running around saying Russians hacked the election. No, but it has been shown there was an intelligence campaign. It was shown by a study from the University of Tennessee that when Russia had their social media campaigns in certain areas, Donald Trump's poll numbers increased. Does that show that Russia had a preference? No. Does it show that Russia tried to influence the election? Yes. And what this report and Matt Taibbi do not refute is the conversations between people like Michael Flynn, Papadopoulos, people like that have been proven. Roger Stone went to jail because he lied under oath about conversations and connections with Russian intelligence. We have people that went to prison for it. Papadopoulos was one of the original reasons there was an investigation because he bragged about the fact that they had information from the Russians about WikiLeaks stuff coming out. He was at a cocktail party drinking too much, and that's where part of this started. So this intelligence report that Tulsi has doesn't refute any of that. Doesn't refute the conversations or communications between the Trump campaign and Russia. Doesn't refute the intelligence campaigns that Russia had during the 2016 election. The only thing we have here is preference. That's it. And so explain
the
to me.
The only thing
yes,
is that we have preference.
Yeah, that they preferred one over the other. Okay. And the idea
but they stated that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it may have been an incorrect assessment. That's okay.
Oh, it's just incorrect.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, it's
wrong.
We just missed that one.
Yeah.
No. Bill, they knew. There was no evidence that existed that Vladimir Putin had a preference towards Donald Trump being elected and actively worked to get him elected. But
did he hack into Donald Trump's campaign?
Said.
No.
Russian actors acted to aid Trump in election. New York Times headline. Russian hackers acted to aid Trump in election.
I think that when Russian intelligence hacks into the DNC and Hillary's servers after, during a debate, Donald Trump suggests it. In fact, we know that after Donald Trump said it during the debate, it happened 3 days later. We know that timeline exists. Again, is that the cause? I don't know. However, what we do know is that the information released benefited one candidate and harmed another. So we can assume.
Washington Post, secret CIA assessment says Russia was trying to help Trump win White House. Then they launched for 2 years investigations, went out there, and Blake played that audio of Adam Schiff, or the rest of them, all going, Donald Trump is a secret Russian asset. He's compromised. Vladimir Putin wanted to utilize Donald Trump. Oh, we can't tell you because it's classified. All that stuff. They didn't just get this wrong. They specifically ignored contrary intelligence to the fact. They ignored their own experts, and then they weaponized the intelligence agencies to go after a political opponent with the motive of tanking Donald Trump's presidency to make him less effective. This isn't just,
wait, hang on a
we
second.
got this kind of wrong.
How did Barack Obama weaponize the intelligence agencies when he's not president?
He was president. This was 2016.
No. But after the election, he's not. So how did the intelligence agency? Because remember, when we get to the next year,
right,
that Barack Obama's nowhere.
And then, Donald Trump's cleaning up. He's firing James Comey and the rest of this.
But hang on a second.
This happened in late 16. We're talking about late 16.
Who appointed Mueller? Trump.
Why are you dancing around Mueller?
Okay.
I just said Comey.
I know, but here's the issue, is that you're talking about the idea that Barack Obama weaponized the intelligence community.
Correct. Because
yet Donald
this
Trump's
all
president.
happened in late December, early January. We're talking about timing. You bounce around. I've noticed in this fight or this debate, you end up bouncing all around. You'll jump to what was found out in 18 and 19 and stuff like that.
Because it's relevant.
I'm talking about 16, 17. They didn't know that.
Because it's relevant.
They didn't know that. And so you go, well, because we found out in 18 that Roger Stone had a conversation with Russia, obviously what Barack Obama knew in late 2016, early 2017 is therefore cleared.
No, Papadopoulos talked about it. Hang on a sec. Papadopoulos, I brought Papadopoulos talk about this in 16. This information was there in 16. The information that Mueller comes out with is 16, 17. 15, 16, 17. Yes, it's relevant. That's why I bring it up. Because here's the idea is that we seem to forget, when you're talking about jumping around, we seem to forget that as of 2017, Donald Trump's the prez. That's it. So
right.
the idea that Barack Obama has weaponized the intelligence community for this set of months, and then Donald Trump is president, and somehow it still exists, that's silly. That is absolutely silly.
You think, okay. The revisionism here is amazing.
It's not revisionism, my friend.
The idea that Donald Trump walked in and knew exactly what the intelligence agencies were doing the day he became a president. I knew folks that worked in the White House, okay? They didn't, in many ways, I'm not even sure Trump expected he was going to win in 2016. It was kind of a shock to everybody that he would. Then, he knows exactly what the assessments that were taking place in late 2016, early 2017 under Barack Obama in the CIA, and he was able to address that the minute he became president. Of course, why wouldn't he have taken care of that?
The issue is this. The issue is it's the same silly thing that I heard about during the Biden administration, that somehow Barack Obama was still pulling the strings. What you're doing is you're saying that Barack Obama was somehow still pulling the strings for the intelligence community during the Trump presidency.
What I'm saying is, one, you have a deep state that exists that's very, very clear. And Matt Taibbi is explaining that even later in the article, that the fight to get this information out is still a challenge in 2025. Okay? So you have a deep state that exists. But what everybody is pointing out, what all of us are arguing, is that
I don't agree necessarily your premise that the deep state exists, but that's okay.
In December and January, following the shock victory of Donald Trump as president of the United States, and it's all laid out here, the CIA leadership, the intelligence agency leadership, ignored its own agents, ignored their own assessments in an effort to drive an agenda and kick off what would then become 2 years of Democrats claiming that Donald Trump was a Russian asset and was exposed and compromised by Vladimir Putin. Okay? Barack Obama didn't need to be president to kick that off or to continue to run that. He just needed to be president to kick it off. And that's exactly what he did. And the Democrats ran with that for the next 2 years. Barack Obama didn't need to be in office for the Democrats to run with that. Adam Schiff ran with it. The media ran with it. And they all ran out there and said he's an exposed Russian asset. Meanwhile, they knew in 16 and 17 he wasn't, because their own intelligence officials were telling him
Here's the thing.
It wasn't the case.
I was there contemporaneously. You and I were both there as far as reading the information. I never felt that Donald Trump was a Russian asset. But the information that they did coordinate, share information, and that there was a misinformation campaign, and there were some hacks that happened from the Russians that damaged one candidate and helped another candidate, seemed to be borne out. They have independent studies that have shown the social media campaigns, where it was targeted, and how it seemed to favor Donald Trump. Now, can we say that Putin may not have had a preference? That is fair. But does it help? Does it help Putin to destabilize faith in elections by doing these things? Yes. And especially getting someone like Trump in office? Yes. Yes. And does Putin gain things? Because, again, remember, we have Michael Cohen during the campaign talking to Putin about Trump Tower in Moscow. There's a business relationship there. That's not something that Putin has with Hillary. Hillary's been more of an adversary. Does Russia possibly believe that they have a better path to destabilizing NATO and getting other things that they want if Trump's in power because of a prior business relationship? Remember, we go back to Eric Trump, and again, you hate me jumping around. We go back to Eric Trump in around 2015 saying they don't need U.S. banks anymore because they get all the money they need from Russia. So the idea that Putin would be more amenable to a Trump presidency than a Hillary presidency seems to be reasonable. I'm not saying proven. I'm saying seems to be a reasonable assertion of fact. That seems to be okay. And what we don't have, though, is an established preference. The rest of the CIA and the rest of the intelligence community, as far as what Russia did, is solid. And so did the Democrats go out and play politics with it by saying Russian asset, Russian asset? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, they did.
Just play politics.
Yes, they absolutely did.
What do you do with the fact
just like this? Hang on a sec.
It's listed here. They specifically ignored the assessment of their own agents.
I disagree with that idea that they specifically ignored. There were three things there there are a couple of things there that didn't rise to the highest standards that they have. And I believe they saw things that weren't there. Yeah, as far as saying that Putin had a preference, but it is not deniable that Russia meddled in the election and had an influence campaign. And there are pieces of that did benefit Donald Trump.
There's emails here that specifically say they want to remove it, and that Jim Clapper is saying or that is John Brennan. John Brennan saying we're going to put it back in because doesn't it ring true?
Yes, but Donald Trump's CIA, his own CIA, just days ago did say the assessment is solid. Said that it did rise to the standards in most cases. And I understand that that's when Clapper's doing that, he is playing with information that's not necessarily as solid as others. And I disagree with the politicization of it afterwards, claiming that Trump is a Russian asset. But I see this all the time. I see it with, we had Hunter Biden had one meeting with one guy, and Biden stopped over to say hi, and because of that, somehow now Joe Biden was a Chinese asset. So same thing. James Comer came up all the time showing we have these checks, we have this testimony, and all of it fell apart because Comer was selling the line that Biden was a Chinese asset. Same thing. Same politicization of information. Yes, same thing. Both sides do it.
Comer, the guy in the House?
Yeah. Yes.
So the House of Representatives.
And
right?
his Joe Biden investigation.
You're saying that's the same as a CIA director.
What? Nope. You're missing that. Hang on a sec. You're missing the point. I'm saying that both politicians politicize it because the issue is not both just this. Hang on a sec.
Hang on. Brennan's a politician?
Wait, hang on a sec. Hold on. What you talked about was that all these politicians ran out and said Russian asset, the Adam Schiff and everybody else. Those are all Democrat politicians that went out and made these claims and said that, yes, they're playing politics with it. Did I ever think that Donald Trump was a Russian asset? No.
Bill, I'm not just talking about
Yes.
politicians.
Yes.
The official claim from the intelligence community assessment was that Vladimir Putin developed a clear preference for Donald Trump and aspired to help his chances of victory.
Yeah. And again, seems somewhat reasonable. I understand these three pieces, and we can dispute the preference.
By whom?
Hang on a sec. But what we do have is we do have them hacking the DNC, not the RNC. We do have them hacking Hillary Clinton's emails, not Donald Trump's, and they did it 3 days after Donald Trump said, can you please go find the emails? And they communicated when they had the information from WikiLeaks, they communicated through Roger Stone and other people connected to the Trump campaign about the release. Papadopoulos spilled about it.
Okay,
so hang on.
Why?
Hold on. Can we assume that when Russian intelligence hacks emails of Trump's opponent in a campaign and then shares with them the information and that is going to be released, that might show a preference?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's not. That's my assessment that it is.
Why did they hack Hillary? Why did they have all this information on Hillary?
Because they wanted to destabilize the campaigns. Yeah.
They wanted to destabilize the democracy.
Yes.
And guess who they expected to win?
Hang on a sec. But that's not the question I have.
No. That is
Hillary.
the reason. That is the reason they went after her. Because they expected her to win.
Okay, so wait, hang on a sec. Hold on.
A clear preference for Donald Trump and to aspire to help his chances of victory.
Okay, so you're telling me this, that if someone is expected to win and then I try to help the campaign of the opponent, I'm not showing a preference.
Campaign. You're not helping the campaign of the other.
They were talking to the other campaign.
And this is listed in this report.
Jeff, they were talking to the other campaign. They were sharing information with the other campaign. George Papadopoulos, Roger Stone have testified to it.
What information did they share?
The information from WikiLeaks, the information from the DNC hacks. They coordinated with him. Papadopoulos bragged about it at a cocktail party. Yes.
They coordinated with Russia.
Yes, they coordinated
Donald
with
Trump's
Russian.
campaign coordinated with Russia. And who was brought up on these charges?
Roger Stone, George Papadopoulos, Flynn, a couple others.
And they were convicted of this?
Yes. That's why Roger Stone
with Russia.
That's why Roger Stone was convicted for lying under oath about the conversations he had with Russia. That's where he got pinched for that.
But not actually coordinating with Russia.
But lying about it. That was the issue that they got him under.
But that's different than coordinating.
But does the lie part of it mean anything to you?
Well, yeah, no. I mean, you can lie. You can lie about anything.
I know,
Bill,
but hang on a sec. Hang on.
You
oh
keep jumping to this idea that there was coordination and between Donald Trump and Russia.
It's proven. Manafort came out and said they did it.
And what did they share?
They shared campaign information. They shared information. They shared, polling
data.
And other
Bill,
things, yes.
They shared polling data. And you're doing the same thing the Democrats did
No,
in
I'm
this.
not.
You're jumping to make that
Such
Donald
crap.
Trump
No.
is some type of Russian asset.
Wait, hang on. I didn't say he's some type of Russian asset. We're talking
Coordinated.
about... Hang on.
Oh, so now we're just coordinating.
Yes. Yeah. Does that mean he's an asset? No. Does it mean he's doing the bidding of Russia? No. Is he getting foreign interference in an election and help? Yes. And you yourself admitted it, that Russia thought that Hillary was going to win, so they came in and tried to destabilize the election and help and coordinate with his opponent. Now again, not criminal collusion.
No,
but yes,
help
he helped
is not there.
He did help him.
Help
They
is
help
not
him.
listed in this report anywhere.
Wait, that's my word, not in the report, but they did help him. When they release the hacked emails and the DNC information and when they do the social media campaigns, that is helping him, especially when Manafort shares the campaign data, research data, and those social media campaigns are concentrated in specifically areas that can help Donald Trump. That's been proven. University of Tennessee showed that. That is not the CIA or anything else. The University of Tennessee went out and did that research. That is completely outside of what we're talking about. That is an independent assessment.
It is completely outside of what we're talking
That's an
about
independent
because you'll
assessment
jump around
proving what I'm
everywhere
saying.
and you won't address the actual
Yes,
fact
I
here.
am. I am. I'm
They
addressing the facts here.
heard from their own people that there was no preference. And then they put it into an intelligence briefing and then powered the Democrats to run out there and to sabotage. This was all done to sabotage the first few years of Trump's presidency. All right, we're up against a break and we've got phones. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Does Obama, Clapper, Comey, and Brennan deserve to be prosecuted over this?
Yeah, what do you charge him with? Tell me that one.
Treason.
Yeah, sure. Okay, tell me another one. That's a good one.
That's what Tulsi Gabbard said.
Yeah, and treason's outlined inside of the Constitution. You're right. Good luck with that one. Good luck. I'll grab the popcorn and watch that one. That'll be fun to watch.
All right.
Good luck. Good luck with that.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. Treason. Yeah, right.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Tulsi Gabbard's documents that she released yesterday. Matt Taibbi's headline, "In brutal document released, the Russia hoax is finally exposed." He writes, "It was worse than we thought." Official claim that Putin aspired to help Trump was based on 4 pieces of evidence, all bogus, even ridiculous, according to a long-suppressed report just released by DNI Tulsi Gabbard. Democrats out there saying, well, they meddled in other aspects, so they got some of the report right. We're going to ignore this part. It's an effort to deflect. And the deflection is that it's become very clear that the CIA's own analysts in December of 2016 knew that Vladimir Putin, while meddling in the election, never aspired to help Trump, never coordinated in an effort to help his chances of victory or developed a clear preference for Trump. Yet the head of these agencies, Clapper, Comey, Brennan, and even Obama himself, going back to a meeting that took place in early December, suppress that information in order to drive a narrative that the newly elected president of the United States was somehow a compromised Russian asset. That then went out to the media on December 9th. You end up with headlines like the Washington Post secret CIA assessment says Russia was trying to help Trump win the White House. New York Times, Russian hackers acted to aid Trump in election. They knew it wasn't true. They suppressed their own analysts to do it. That then led to a fake weaponized assessment that Democrats ran for 2 years in order to tank the president's the newly elected president. Let's go to the phone lines. Brian, Arvada. Good morning, Brian. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Jeff, you pretty much summed it up. Like, I mean, that's the problem with Trump derangement syndrome. They can't, people who have it can't even say what you just said without bringing something semi-related up to deflect from the fact that they used false documents that were unverified to launch an investigation and create a narrative that the media and the Democrat Party could run with. That right there is treasonous. Period.
That's not necessarily defined as treason based on the Constitution, Brian. But to be fair, talk to me about how they launched.
It's trying to undermine a duly elected president before his term starts on documents that are unverified and known to be unverified. That is compromising democracy and going against the government.
What's the
That's
lie?
treason in my
What's the
book.
lie contained inside those documents, in your opinion, Brian? What's the lie that we are going to be charged Barack Obama for treason on? What's the lie? I asked Jeff this earlier. What's your opinion? What's the lie?
No, I'm not saying you don't have to point to a lie. The whole thing is a lie.
No,
they're
it's
operating,
not. Wait, no,
operating.
Brian, stop. In the first page of this assessment, it says most ICA judgments on Russian activities in the U.S. election employed proper tradecraft. That's on the first page of this assessment that Tulsi released.
In my mind,
that's on the first
that's
page.
an important note, but it's a deflection from what we're trying to talk about.
No, it's not a deflection because
the intelligence community assessment.
No, it's not a deflection.
Concluded that Vladimir Putin quote developed a clear preference unquote for Donald Trump.
That's what I'm asking for. There it is. That's what I'm asking for.
Right.
What the lie is. Okay,
developed a clear
so we're talking
preference
about
for
the
Donald
idea
Trump
being a preference
and aspired to help his chances for victory. And as Matt Taibbi points out, was based on 4 pieces of evidence. One was the Steele dossier, which even back then they knew was bunk. The surprise is that the other 3 were even less credible. Each included over objections from the report's CIA authors.
Yeah, so
launching an investigation under false pretenses is what we need to focus on.
Hang on a second,
Knowing
Brian,
this information is unverified and you're launching an investigation.
No, Brian,
and a duly elected president.
Brian, the investigation was launched. They determined that Russia didn't hack. They wanted to have an assessment of what influence campaign Russia had during the election of 2016. That's what the launch of the investigation was. That's solid. Okay,
right.
Hang on a sec, Jeff. Let me finish. No, Brian, hang on a sec. No, Brian, no.
Documents that were unverified.
Brian, no. The verified documents come out during the assessment. Barack Obama launches the assessment without having any of this information. He just wants to know, did they do anything? And if so, what did they do? That's the launch of the assessment, Brian. The crime that you're alleging is once they have the assessment, they take what is unverified information and that some people inside the CIA have a problem with and present it having larger credibility and saying that Russia had a preference. It's not that Barack Obama launched a false investigation. It's the idea of the preference. But inside of the very assessment that Tulsi Gabbard has released, the CIA says it is mostly solid. We can have disagreements about the preference.
You're wrong on this.
Yeah,
You're wrong
sure.
about the date on this. Okay? So
That's just verbal
and this
diarrhea.
goes back to the first release on Friday that the intelligence community pulled out of the presidential briefing specific information showcasing that there was no preference. Okay? Then you have a meeting on December 9th to talk about the plan of how they're going to wrap this around Donald Trump's neck. They then give the intelligence community an order on December 9th to begin outlining a new assessment. Okay? So they know about the hacking. They're tracking this all through the election. And then in early December, they changed the narrative. This was all detailed in December 9th meeting. And then you have the media running out there. So then it gets leaked to the media. U.S. officials, Putin personally involved, New York Times, Russia hackers acted to aid Trump in election. The Washington Post, secret CIA assessment says Russia was trying to help Trump. This was all orchestrated. This isn't just, we're going to go do an assessment. They had assessments. They ignored them, came up with new narratives, and they specifically buried assessments from their own CIA analysts that contradicted the narrative that they wanted to spend. So,
exactly. This was a collusion and a conspiracy to delegitimize a duly elected president. That's a bottom line. They conspired, they colluded to delegitimize Donald Trump's administration, duly elected official. That's what they did on the highest level to
use the intelligence agencies
to do the intelligence agencies to leak information, knowing they would run with it. And people with TDS can't even say it.
Yeah, but the CIA assessment, Brian says that most of the stuff contained in there is factual and correct.
It's a deflection.
And the Mueller investigation. No, it's not. It is not a deflection. Y'all are deciding to ignore the information. It's fine.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.